Hey everybody, welcome back to Origin Unexplained, where the weird gets weirder and the abnormal is our norm. I'm Sue, and tonight we're going to talk about something that has bugged me for years. Yes, it's really bugged me for years. Something that sounds stupid at first until you hear the details. Have you ever been deep in the woods and come across something that just shouldn't be there? Not talking about a deer carcass or a t-shirt or a sock or even a hiker's old boot. I mean something weirder. Something like a set of stairs. Something just setting there. They're setting there in the middle of nowhere. I'm talking about real stairs like 10 or 15 steps high, concrete, maybe wood, sometimes even metal, in perfect condition. There's no walls, no door, no house, no foundation, just a staircase leading to nowhere. And here's the creepy part. People who have seen them say the same thing. You get this overwhelming don't go near it vibe. And the air around them feels dead quiet. Some say if you do climb them, you lose time or get disoriented. And a few don't come back at all. Now, look, I'm not saying that these things are portals, but I'm also not saying that they aren't. So, I'm going to give you three stories of some strange and bizarre and unusual cases of stairs in the woods. So, the first one goes back to the early 2000s. A guy named Joel Simmons, who's 33 at the time, he was an experienced hiker and decided to do a solo backpacking trip through a remote part of the Mark Twain National Forest. I do believe that's in Missouri. This wasn't his first trip. He'd done the Appalachian Trail before and knew what he was doing. He was supposed to check in with his sister, and he was supposed to check in with her 3 days after he'd been there, but never did. So, like usual, search and rescue was sent out. They found his car parked at the Little Grass Mountain trailhead. His tent was still in his pack, meaning he never even made a camp. It was like he hiked in, saw something, and just vanished. But here's where it gets strange. About 2.7 miles in off trail, the search team found something unnatural, a concrete staircase. It was covered in dirt, and it was standing perfectly upright. No foundation was attached to it or anything around it. No surrounding debris, just a staircase going up into the trees with a flat top, and it ended in the air. The lead on the search team, who's now retired, said privately to another ranger that dogs wouldn't even go near it. So that's really saying something. The dogs are not going to go near it. Why? They'd pull on their leashes and whine like something invisible was there. One even peed itself and then bolted. Okay, that tells you something, right? They never did find Joel, not a trace. Could he have climbed the stairs? It's questionable. Then, a year later, a second hiker unknown to the original case was in the same forest about 5 miles southeast of that trailhead, and he reported finding a staircase in the woods. This one was made of wrought iron, twisted with vines, rusted but stable. He climbed halfway and got a sudden nosebleed and pounding in his ears. And it felt like he was being yanked out of his own body. So obviously, like any normal human, he ran. When he reported it to the ranger, the guy just said, it moves and it takes people who climb to the top. Okay, now that's kind of creepy. So that's the closest we've gotten so far out of these stories as to what happens. And as for the stairs, he did return with a guide that day, but they were gone. Now, Joel Simmons' case is still unsolved, and officially it was listed as presumed lost due to environmental exposure. But those who know the area, who've worked the SAR out there, say Joel wasn't the only one who disappeared near where the stairs were reported. And this is common all over the world. Those stairs never stay in the same place, and people who climb them, not all of them come back. Look, I don't know what these stairs are, but I know this. Nature doesn't build them, and they don't show up on maps. They show up in stories of people who go missing. Have you ever seen a staircase in the middle of the woods? Or if you do, don't climb it, because some doors don't lead anywhere that you can come back from. So this next story I'm going to send out to my friend in New Hampshire. Actually, the next two. This story comes out of the White Mountains in New Hampshire, a place known for hikers, backpackers, and, well, more missing persons cases than you'd like to think about. Yeah. Start getting in those New England states and forget it. All woods. So a guy posted this back in the early 2010s, claiming that he was on a solo hike. Yeah. Near the Pemigewasset Wilderness, not far from the Appalachian Trail. It actually has rugged terrain, thick woods, not a place that you'd go without gear and experience. He said he was about 10 miles in when he came to a clearing, and it was one that was not on the map. His GPS lost signal. The compass was off by almost 90 degrees. But the weirdest thing was what was in the clearing. A metal staircase, straight up, about 15 steps, was in perfect condition, no rust, no corrosion, not a single leaf or a branch on it, and it looked like it had been scrubbed clean. Here we go again. He figured it was some leftover, maybe possibly from a fire watchtower, but there was no foundation, no bolts, or no concrete slab. Just the stairs sitting in the middle of the moss and the leaves, yes. Like someone spawned it into existence. And that's how a lot of these are mentioned. Right here is where it gets messed up, okay? He said he climbed them slowly just to see and look around. And the second that his foot hit the top step, he heard something behind him. Not a noise, not a branch snapping. He described it as a soundless impact. Like pressure changed, like something dropped in reality. Almost like, I guess, you would experience if you were in a room getting a hearing test and it was a soundproof room. As soon as they close the door, it feels like a soundless impact and the pressure changes. So if you've had that done, you understand. He turned around expecting to see an animal, maybe a bear, but there was nothing, just trees. But now they looked wrong. The trees literally changed. Okay, now that's creepy, right? He said the woods were the same, but like someone had turned the contrast down. The colors were faded, the air smelled like static, Then his ears started to ring. He noticed that there was no sound, no birds, no wind, not even his own footsteps made noise as he walked back down. Then the pressure lifted, the color came back, the birds chirped, then the wind kicked up like a switch was flipped. But here's the part that gives me chills every time. He hiked out fast, and when he got back to his car, his phone had 7 missed calls from his girlfriend. Over 3 hours had passed since he sent her a photo of the view at noon. And oddly enough, on his watch, only 21 minutes had gone by. How do you explain bizarre stuff like that? Alien related? Time warp? Who knows? That staircase? Well, this is something many have described. It was not there when he went back the next weekend. Same clearing, same GPS point, same trees, but no stairs. Just a burned oval shaped patch in the moss where the base had been. It's like it had scorched the ground. And to me, this sounds like stories you hear with UFO craft landings. I don't know. But if anybody does know, I sure would like to hear what you have to say. And I do know that a lot of these parks and stuff, park rangers are told to shut their mouths. And honestly, I would like to hear from one. We all would. We'd like to hear exactly what you're told should you come in contact with stairs. All right, here's another one for you, and this time from way up north. We're still in New Hampshire, but it's Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, not Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is actually the last real town before you hit Canada. It has trees for miles, and it's known for its moose and lakes and silence, of course. And it's the kind of place you go to disappear in a good way. Well, maybe not. So this story comes from a guy who used to be a wildlife technician. I love how they use the word technician all the time. He said he worked for the state for almost 10 years, monitoring moose movement and black bear populations. One summer, he was setting up trail cams near the Second Connecticut Lake, which is a real remote area, and that he had hiked in solo and found what he called a natural bowl. That's like trees that are circling wide, and it's like a sunken clearing. And right at the center of that clearing, there was a staircase, of course, but not just any staircase. It was made of white stone, like limestone or old marble, and it had vines growing up on one side only. Not the back, not the front, just the left side. He counted 11 steps, each one worn down slightly in the middle, like they'd been walked 1,000 times. But the staircase ended in midair. Yes, midair. It had no railing, no platform, nothing. At that point, he'd got a sick feeling in his stomach. Not fear exactly, just something was off balance. He kept hearing this little tapping sound, like fingernails on wood. But there was nothing around but rock and dirt. He circled it and took pictures, obviously. But here's where it gets weird. His trail cam, which was brand new at the time, was working perfectly when he tested it. It wouldn't power on within 20 feet of the staircase. He moved it back and it worked fine. He moved it forward and then it went dead. He even swapped batteries and nothing. So, meanwhile, he's camped nearby, probably against his better judgment. That night, he woke up to a sound like footsteps circling his tent. Not heavy, just soft, slow steps. Then he heard what he swore was a child's voice humming. No words, just a low, creepy, sing-song hum over and over and over again. He claimed that he stayed frozen, said he didn't unzip the tent at all, and who would, considering the circumstances? He just held his hunting knife and waited for daylight. Now, when the sun came up, the stairs were still there, but they looked different. The vines were now on the other side. The worn steps weren't worn anymore. They looked fresh, sharp edged, and untouched. At that point, he packed up and left. My God, so would I. He drove back down to Colebrook and told his supervisor what had happened. And the guy told him, quote, "We get one of those every couple of years. Don't go back. If it moves locations, it means someone climbed it." How would the boss know this? Experience, maybe. This actually was the last job that he did up north. And he quit 3 weeks later. And can you really blame him? Now, look, I don't know what the hell that was, but I will say this. When people who live and work in the woods, and these people aren't scared of a bear or a moose or storms or, God even knows, Bigfoot maybe, and they quit because a set of stairs, that, my friends, is not folklore. That's something else entirely different. So, I'm quite curious to know, as with the rest of the listeners, has anyone here ever seen a set of stairs in the middle of the woods with no foundation and no debris around or anything? They're just there. And I don't mean the ones that climb up the hills, just flat ground there. If you have you ever experienced anything bizarre, unusual? Maybe you didn't feel right. Maybe you were dizzy, disoriented. Maybe you felt fine. I don't know. I would like to hear, along with the listeners, if anybody has experienced any of this stuff. You can email us at originunexplained@gmail.com, and unexplained is UNXPLAINED. There's no E at the beginning of the word. You can also find us on your major platforms. You can listen to us on Spotify, or you may be listening right now. We're on YouTube, we're on X, Instagram, Facebook, uh, even TikTok. Yes. So, with that, I shall bid you a farewell until the next podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And this is me, Sue, on Origin Unexplained.